Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Hello, everyone. You are tuned to the MC Lars podcast. This is episode 86. It's April 20th. We got MC Snax, part one of a two-part interview with one of my favorite Canadian rappers, one of my favorite homies, and a dude that I met. Well, we did a collab a few years ago, and then we kicked it at Insane Clown Posse's Dark Carnival Games convention, which Violent J's brother, Jump Steady, organized, invited us to come perform there. And Snax was there. He helped us do merch. It was just a really good time. Anyway, since then, he and I have done some other songs, and he opened for us in on the Columbus show of the tour, the Baby Yoda 2020 campaign trail, which honestly feels like 10 years ago now. I hope you're all doing okay with the quarantine. My next show is opening for Twisted with Schäffer the Darklord at Too Many Games in Oaks, Pennsylvania on Friday, June 26th. Hopefully that will still go down. I'll update y'all if that isn't happening. But that's my next show. Like I always say, the Age of Ultron song's coming out. It's actually coming out this week. Patreon, doing all my MCU stuff. But before we get into that, let's check out the MC Lars Patreon Lars of the week. This week, we have Jeff in Maple Shade, New Jersey, who talks about discovering me on Pandora through the Less Than Jake station and the positivity of the ska energy that he found in my music. Before I play this, I wanted to say, if you want to be a guest on the MC Lars podcast and leave a message or a story, here's what you do. Sign up on the Patreon, patreon.com/MC Lars. Not only do you get 2 new songs a month, I will play your message when you call. You get a secret phone number when you sign up, and you get a free t-shirt. That's what's up. That's crazy. So here's Jeff. Jeff, I sent you a t-shirt, and I sent him a bonus cassette of the Zombie Dinosaur LP. I'm going to send those 2 until I run out, so you can't get that anywhere else. So check it out. This is Jeff's message.
Hey, Lars. This is Jeff calling. I would say the first time I had heard you was actually sitting at work, working at a hotel at a front desk after college. Had gotten my degree and didn't have really the job to show for it. So making very minimal amounts of money working at the front desk, I would listen to Pandora when it was called the Human Genome or the Music Genome Project. And I believe you came up on one of my Less Than Jake playlists with This Gigantic Robot Kills. Obviously made me look further into your discography from there. And one thing we've always appreciated is that while it was a song that really spoke to heart about, how the ska community feels and, kind of sometimes gets reminiscent about those days, is that you're a hip hop artist, but you're part of the ska community, which is a really great thing. It's, you're the type of person that can blend and merge with the, different genres. You clearly have an appreciation for genres that you don't necessarily, record in, as a hip hop artist, but obviously you have people, that you do collaborations with on your album that are from that genre. And I think that's an incredible thing. And, what you've been doing since we've all been in this quarantine situation has been nothing short of so phenomenal and appreciative, with doing the live streams and just doing so much Facebook interaction with, with your fans, your family. So, keep doing what you're doing, man, and appreciate it so much. Take care of yourself and your family.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing okay and sending a lot of love. This is my interview with MC Snax, part 1 of 2. Here we go. MC Snax.
MC Lars.
What's up?
What's up?
On the MC Lars podcast.
How's it going?
You are from Mount Pearl, Newfoundland.
Yes, sir. Mount Pearl, Newfoundland.
Born and raised.
Yep, born and raised. Absolutely.
But you've lived in America.
I have.
And we were talking about like maybe getting you on this tour to help and open, and it didn't quite work out, but we wanted you on one show at least. And Columbus worked out that you could get down here.
It did. Yeah, absolutely.
Why did we pick Columbus? Remind me.
Well, I just had mentioned like towards the end of the tour, it would probably be more convenient. And that was one of the dates that came up, and we just kind of went for it.
In terms of timing.
Yes.
And it was a really good show, man.
Man, thank you.
You did great. Good turnout.
Oh, you guys did great. It was incredible to be a part of it.
That's what's up. MC Snax. So those of you who may not be aware, I've done, how many songs have we done?
3 or 4 now.
Jeez Louise. We
So
did
1 of mine and 3 yours. Or 2 of yours.
2. We did the Ninja Turtles one. The Shredder one?
Jar Jar. No, we didn't do the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, we did the Jar Jar.
Jar Jar, Narnia, and Medicine Man.
Oh my gosh.
3.
We've done 3 songs. So those of you on Patreon have heard Snax a lot. Those of you on Spotify, I have a playlist of all of my collabs. That's on that. And you've put out quite a few records. Mm-hmm. We met through ICP love, though.
That's right. Exactly. We bonded over our love of the hatchet, if you will.
And I remember the first time we met IRL was at
DCG Con.
in Denver.
Denver,
You helped us sell merch.
I did.
You kicked it with DJ and me.
Mm-hmm.
You were very helpful. And I was like, this is a cool guy. I want to be his friend.
Oh, man. Absolutely. I thought the same thing.
That's what's up.
And the rest is history.
Let's open this pack of Roger Rabbit cards. You watched Roger Rabbit recently. Semi-recently.
Yes, I did.
Because we had an emotional talk about it.
We did. And it means a lot to you. And I wanted to, experience it because I hadn't watched it up until that point. And these cards are super cool.
87. There's gum in there.
1987.
Let me taste the gum.
I can still smell the gum. Are you going to go for it? Oh, I think they probably heard that
foul.
crunch. Is it foul?
Ugh, I gotta drink some water.
Yeah, you want to drink.
Eat gum that's over 30 years old.
No, this is.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's rough.
Y'all heard that crunch. I only had a tiny piece.
I'm impressed though.
That's gross. Okay, so let's talk about these cards.
Oh
So
my
a fan
goodness.
brought these. They're mint condition Roger Rabbit trading cards.
Was this tonight?
This was a few nights ago, but I thought it'd be fun since we talked about the movie.
Oh, man.
To talk about a few from random moments from the movie, and then talk about the movie real quick, and then tie it into like the whole MC Snax thing, because I feel like you have a cool cartoony but serious vibe, and that's Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh yeah, cool.
So I thought it'd be tight. Maybe pick one that picks your mind and see if it reminds you of any scenes.
Oh my
You're laying them out on the
gosh.
table at the hotel.
I am. Yes,
A lot of Judge Doom final scene cards.
There
here.
are. Okay, here
Is
we
that
go.
a sticker?
Baby
A Benny
Herman.
the Cap sticker?
I don't know if it's a sticker, but it's just. Oh, it looks like
I think it's a sticker, dude.
Is it? I don't know.
Wait, let's see.
Oh, peel. Yeah, you're right. It is.
This
a
is
sticker.
ill. Dude, we got a
That's
Benny the Cap
super cool.
sticker.
You can put that on your laptop or
That's
something.
gangster. Look at that. These are dope. Okay,
Man, these are super dope. Okay, we get some Baby Herman too.
so Who Framed Roger Rabbit, those you may not know, is a movie from 1988 combining live action animation. And these cards, the Roger Rabbit trading cards are cool because they look like movie film. And so what's up? What's the top one?
So the top one is Just Hanging Around. That you'll know that scene better than I do.
Just hanging around. This is where Eddie Valiant walks out and he's about to drop down and he meets Bugs Bunny and Mickey, because he comes to this building and he comes out a door and it's a bathroom that's not finished.
Oh, okay.
Remember that scene?
I vaguely remember it. And I'm going to emphasize the word vaguely.
Yeah.
I do remember Judge.
Okay.
yeah.
Judge Doom getting squished. Judge Doom's demise, where he's melted and you realize he's a toon.
Yes.
Anyway, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? It's a really beautiful movie about friendship and kindness.
So good.
And I think it's a movie about faith, because Roger reminds Eddie to have his faith in goodness. He loves working, that he really needs to be there to help tunes, and to have his faith in good and just the concept of goodness. You're a man of faith.
I am a man of faith.
We've talked about that a lot.
We have.
You gave me a C.S. Lewis book today.
I did. You still haven't read it, right? 'Cause
Screw Tape Letters?
Yeah.
I have not.
Oh, man, it's going to blow you away.
Tell me why you love it.
Oh, man. All right. So it is, well, it was written, I think, first. So I think those letters were actually published. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't published as a book originally. Like these letters, fictional letters from like a demon who's like coaching his nephew demon into like messing this guy up and making him sin and stuff. I think these letters were published in like maybe newspapers or something over a course of time. And I think it was, the first one was back in like the early 1940s, 41 or 42.
Yeah.
And they're still applicable today if you believe in like spiritual warfare and that there are, good forces but also bad forces trying to put us in the wrong direction. Like it's kind of breaks down how they would do it. And even if you don't believe in the supernatural, it's at the very least like a very interesting book when it comes to like psychoanalysis.
Right.
And it's just, it's very insightful.
So they are writing each other, trying to like plan this sabotage of this good guy.
That's right. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's very
I'm
creative.
excited to read it. And also that that era, there was a literal world war, and England was like being like beaten to a pulp by the Germans.
Yeah.
So like that I'm sure that resonated.
And they mentioned the war, and it might not come up in the ways that you would expect, which is really cool. I don't want to say too much.
Okay.
But you just
Screw tape.
Yeah, the screw tape letters. It's something else.
We did a song, I think it was about Lion, Witch, in the Wardrobe, where you play Aslan.
I did.
I think it's a great verse.
That was quite the honor.
Who knew? What do you say? Who knew the king of Narnia had a tail and a mane?
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe that's what we end with on this podcast. We'll end with that song.
Oh man, yeah, cool.
That'd be
That sounds
tight,
like
right?
a good idea. Yeah.
You did great on that.
Oh, thank you. You did great.
A lot of people don't know. So, okay, ICP's whole Dark Carnival serves as an extended metaphor in the way that Narnia serves as this metaphor for heaven, and Aslan as Jesus, I guess, and God. And that's what's interesting about the Dark Carnival. And people don't know about that because they just think, oh, ICP, magnets, haha, they don't have college degrees, haha,
Yeah.
poor people like them. And they get a bad reputation, but there's some like deep morality in
Oh
it.
my goodness, absolutely.
And it's interesting talking to you because you understand it from like the nerdcore, nerdy perspective, like the educated perspective, and from the like Juggalo perspective. You have an interesting intersection. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about their concept of Shangri-La, right? And how that's similar to Narnia.
Yeah, absolutely. So they, like they have not just like a concept album, as you know, like it's a concept discography basically with their Joker's cards. They're on the second deck. And as they say, like each Joker card tries to get you to look at yourself to see if you're on the right path when it comes to like the eternal, your eternal destiny in the afterlife. So it's very much about morality and trying to be a better person. It's like, and I don't know how much they want people to break it down when it comes to theology, but their belief system, if there was a systematic one, seems to be pretty works-based in Insane Clown Posse's music. And that, a lot of people would argue, is like probably contradictory to a more like biblical Christianity.
She said it's more works-based.
Works-based, yeah.
Meaning that they are trying to inspire people? Or
Well, I guess like that you get to heaven by your own good deeds or being a good person yourself.
Right.
And a lot of, from what I understand, not that I'm an expert in religion, but most religions are that. But most people would say that Christianity is unique in that most major denominations, not all, but most seem to be, it's not like works-based. It's the only thing that justifies you, as you know, is your faith. Yeah, exactly.
Being quote-unquote saved.
Yeah, so... as someone who's been like a juggalo since I was 11 years old, but someone who also, considers myself a Christian, I don't know how compatible the two belief systems are, but there's definitely morality involved.
There was an interview that what is that? It was like they were in the ICP and Jay were being interviewed, Shaggy and Jay were being interviewed in this closet, and the guy asked them, "Would you consider yourself Christian?" And Shaggy says no, but Jay said yes. Yeah,
and in his, you listen to the Behind the Pain audiobook.
Yeah,
right?
holler. Great listen.
If I'm not mistaken, in his chapter that talks about the Dark Carnival, I think the chapter might be called The Dark Carnival. He actually says it, and it's one of the only times I've ever heard him say something this explicitly Christian, but he says like he believes they are rolling with Jesus. I think that's what the term he uses, rolling with Jesus. But yeah, like it's weird because on one hand, their Christianity like got blown out of proportion with those articles that were talking about like the Wraith, the unveiling when they reveal that the carnival is God. People thought that they meant like the Christian God, but they're pretty like pluralistic when it comes to their beliefs. Like I think that they believe that, in just a general, like, holy creator is the word Violent J uses the most, it seems. But that's what like really attracted me to it when I first got into it, was the more like spiritual elements. And
So you were born in 92?
91.
Okay, so you said you were 11, so that would have been when the sixth card came out.
It just came out.
So was that your first album, was The Wraith?
Yeah, first one I
That's
bought.
crazy, man.
I know.
Because that's such a different record. I mean, my first was probably Ringmaster, 37. And I remember listening to The Wraith in college. It came out on my headphones, and I had read the lyrics, and it was like Thy Unveiling, and I read it, and I was like, whoa. So I knew it was coming.
Right.
And I was like, this is dope.
Yeah.
But also there's a lot of like stuff about like, I don't know, a lot of it's like Jesus is not necessarily a vigilante who would
Right.
kill someone for being a
Right.
Ku Klux Klan member.
Yeah,
And when ICP talk about the Confederate flag and stuff like that, like it's entertaining, and you get this idea of like the same satisfaction you get with memes about punching Nazis, like, okay,
Right.
they deserve it. But there's stuff about it that's problematic, and how they talk about women, and especially like the supervillains song about killing gay people, even though they're being villains, like, I don't know, like there's some stuff about ICP that's, it's hard to like really be like, as a Juggalo, how do you deal with like, how do you wrestle with all that stuff?
Well, it's not. Well, when I was younger, it wasn't very difficult. But the more I kind of learn about, a more traditional type of faith, and I guess, I don't want to say mature, because that sounds like the people who don't believe what I believe are immature in their faith. But the more I have personally grown closer to God, or what feels like is growing closer to God, the more I do struggle with those things and see the incompatibilities. But they don't I think acknowledge those too. And like, I think Violent J especially has said that they've written and recorded lyrics that they regret. And they're not prophets, or I think they're entertainers who do strongly believe in something higher than themselves.
Yeah.
And I think you just get like these two incredibly creative and imaginative artists who happen to like love like over the top like music, but also other forms of entertainment like wrestling, and they also happen to be very spiritual.
Right.
But they grew up like really, in rough situations, so they're, I think, themselves a bit rough around the edges, and I think who they are as people might be kind of a interesting combination. So that's what their music is. So But yeah, you're right, brother. I do wrestle with it, especially these days. I really do.
I mean, it's. I like them, but
I do too.
Yeah, I would say they're one of my favorite groups of all time. And playing The Gathering was dope. Meeting them,
yes,
and they were humble, and have them sign my Malenko shirt, which I gave to my friend Mike as a wedding gift when I got married, because he's a good friend. Anyway, I mean, but it's like certain people. You meet people, Juggalos. Now it's this thing of like Juggalos are. It's combined with this nostalgia for music that was from 20 years ago. I don't know if there's a lot of new Juggalos, unless it's parents that were into them.
Right. Well,
what do you think?
I don't know. I haven't been to a whole lot of concerts lately, but even at DCG Con, like there was, I guess it seems like mostly it's probably like the people have been Juggalos for a while, but there always seems to be new faces like coming and going. But this might sound bizarre, but I think that there's an element of like people who will get into ICP, like they'll find that music, you know what I mean? And I think there's almost like waves, and this because of how I'm sure you have a story of how you got into them. Like they might have just kind of made a splash in a certain way, like whether it was like the shockumentary or, the whole Disney debacle. Right. It's almost like they kind of do these waves and swoop up a bunch of Juggalos, and that's, and they might go a little while with just kind of riding the Juggalos that they have. So I think it grows in like waves. Yeah, ebbs and flows.
Or it's like the Miracles thing, right?
Yes, exactly.
People are like, what is this? And then there was a whole wave of the hipsters going to The Gathering to do ironic Vice documentaries about the like sociological, the underclass of America. But then people realize that, oh, some of this is cool.
Yes,
and
exactly.
And they're respected by other people. And I think you're right, man. I mean, Jay-Z had that line that he's raps Grateful Dead, but really ICP raps Grateful Dead.
Right.
Because it's a community. And
it is, man.
I'll always be a juggalo and till I'm down in the down with the clown till I'm dead in the ground.
100%. And even like, though there are some things that are seemingly contradictory to the direction I'm heading with my faith, like I would never be ashamed to call myself a juggalo as far as what it means as being a person, because the juggalos that I've met, I'm so blessed to have met them. Yep. And there is a genuine camaraderie and care for one another that you see in that subculture that I don't think is quite matched in anything else that I've encountered when it comes to, like, you know, fan bases and stuff. And also the musicians, ones that I've met as a fan and also the ones that I met as a peer. Like, I believe that they really have a genuine love and care for the people who are supporting what they do. Right. And that's coming from somebody who, you know, has followed them, like, probably closer than a grown man should follow the endeavors of another, you know, grown man when it comes to me following, like, Psychopathic Records since I've been, like, 11 years old. I've not become jaded and thinking that they're doing it just for the money. Like, I believe in my heart they love what they love entertaining the juggalos. You know what I mean? Well, yeah, and like the gathering never was super profitable. It was like they'd lose money making it such a spectacle. That's right. And yeah, I'm really glad I discovered them, and I'm glad I met you. Oh man, I'm glad I met you. It brings people together. That's what it does, and it brought us together. You were raised Anglican? Yes. And I was raised Episcopalian, which is the American version of the Anglican Church. Yeah, I think for anybody who's super into, like, you know, ecclesiastics and like the history of different denominations, that might, I don't know if that's oversimplifying it, but there's definitely a connection, and a connection to, or lack thereof, to the Church of England with Episcopalian, from my understanding, is the big differentiator there. The connection to England. I think so. The Anglican Church of England. Is the English. So version. Yeah, that's right. Well, Anglican, has a, like, that's the, I guess, authority from what I understand. Like, we have the, like, I forget what it's called. Not Archbishop of Canterbury. I forget what the title is. It's not like equal to, like, how much authority the Pope, I guess, would have, but it's a similar figure. And I don't think Episcopalians have that. Okay. And well, Canada's more British. Y'all are a little more, you have the Queen on your money. That's right, yeah. And you can work in England more easily than we can, I think, right? You might be able to. I don't know about that personally. You might be able to. It's okay. Yeah. What is your day job when you're not rapping and playing concerts around? So I am I guess you could say, public servant. That's what's up. Yeah, I have a government job. I work for the government. For it's one of its main services. I'm being vague here because I don't know if, like, I should say. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You work for the government. Yeah, that's what's public servant for the government. You got a tight job. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm lucky. I feel good about it. It's challenging sometimes. Do you like the people you work with? I do. I like the people I work with, yeah. Do they know you do MC Snax? Yes, they do. That's tight. Yeah, now more so because, like, since last March, I took a little bit of a step back, but now that I've been doing stuff, working on the new album, you know, even I was telling them about, like, coming down here to play the show. They know about it, and I gave them all, like, the samplers I printed out for the show. I had done a couple extra to give out to them, so good job, man. They know now if they didn't before. You did good marketing there. Oh, thanks, and you're very helpful, like, all night. I appreciate that. Thanks, man. I like to stay busy. That's tight. Be useful. That's tight. Okay, so. You have done a lot of reading about the Gospels. You know a lot about the Bible. You know, and Christianity. I really appreciate that. I have a hard time sometimes with compliments because I don't want to just breeze over and accept it. Be like, yes, I do, MC Lars. I am an expert in the New Testament. But no, I have read a lot. You read. A buddy of mine once said something that stuck with me. He's like, I'm not well read. I'm widely read.
You are.
And I always thought that was funny because it's like a way to kind of like take. I do read a lot, but that doesn't mean I absorb or have a good understanding of everything I read.
Yeah, but you're very interested in it.
I am.
And you're looking for the truth.
Yeah, I am, brother. I am.
Have you ever not had faith in God?
Yes, sir.
And so what was that like, and how did you come back?
So from ages like, I'd say like 15 to 19, I would have like considered myself an atheist.
Yeah.
I was like really it started like getting into people online, like who were into like writing about atheism and writing against religion. And then I got into Richard Dawkins and bought his book, The God Delusion. And I just I was like, wow, I'm an atheist. And I would have told you that for like 4 years of my life. And I wasn't just an atheist, actually. Like I probably what people call like an anti-theist. Like I believe that religion was like the source of many of the world's problems. And I just became kind of turned against it. And a couple of things happened in my life. I had a couple of bizarre experiences.
Let's talk about them.
All right.
If you're down.
I am down, absolutely. But the listeners of this podcast might think I'm insane by the end of it.
We're all crazy, man.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, I don't know if I want to get... So, well, I guess one of the less crazy things, like a lot of people, I noticed a lot of coincidences in my life that a lot of them were like, seemed like it was too many to be a coincidence. And I did have some supernatural encounters, which... I haven't had many of those, but there was a few that kind of coincided with me experiencing a lot of sleep paralysis in this one time. And we might as well just go full into the fringe crazy stuff. But a lot of people think, and I don't know if I believe this 100%, but a lot of people think that sleep paralysis, there is something supernatural there. It's not just like a totally natural phenomenon. And around the time that I was experiencing, I had just moved to the States, and I was experiencing a lot of sleep paralysis.
So for people who may not be familiar with that scientific term, explain it.
So it's when you like wake up, like your mind wakes up, but you can't move. You're totally frozen. Sometimes it's accompanied by like other sensations, like pressure on your chest or weird like mechanical noises, with a lot of other possible hallucinations through sound, and when it's really bad you hallucinate visually, which has happened to me during it. And it's a horrifying experience. Even if you don't hallucinate, sometimes you just feel this like immense, like indescribable presence of evil that's like very, very intense.
Jay talks about having those in Behind the Paint, doesn't he?
Yeah, he kind of almost is like, he doesn't, he like, it to him, it's almost like part and parcel with his panic attacks in some situations, it seems. And I could see that because there's definitely a sense of extreme panic when you're having one of those.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I've had that in the past, but it became exasperated when I moved back to Massachusetts. This was like the third time I had moved there. And this is going to sound crazy, but I don't know if I even told you this story, Lars.
Please, this is awesome.
So,
but it's not awesome that you had these difficult experiences. I'm saying I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I meant.
And the story, I don't want to hype it up too much because it might sound silly to people listening, and they might be like, okay, there's a totally reasonable explanation for that. But as I mentioned, moved 3 times, as you know, to the States. First 2 were during high school, and then the second time when I was a little bit older. And one of those times during high school, I lost the CD. I had the case, but I lost the disc when I moved back. I couldn't find it anymore.
What was it?
It was, funny enough, it was Blaze Dead Homie, Carlton Grundy's The Undying.
Right.
Yeah. And I just eventually gave up. I kept the case, but I never had that CD for a few years. And long story short, when that week that I was having all that sleep paralysis, I get up one day and that CD is on top of a pile of boxes. I still had some boxes in my room because I wasn't totally unpacked. It was just there on top of my boxes. And that sounds like, I know that's like a big, claim to say that, a random CD just appeared. And I was living with my mom and my, at the time, stepdad. And I asked them, I was like, did you guys put this CD in my room at any time, like in the nighttime or anything? And they were like, no. And again, I don't blame anybody if they're listening to this thing. Oh, they definitely did. They were just messing with you. But to know them like I do, and they know how much it did mess with my head to this day, I don't think that they would lie about that or try and play a trick on me.
So Snax, let me ask you some question.
Yo.
Could it have been under like some papers or something that you'd put on the box and the papers fell off?
It is possible.
Right.
But it's doubtful. To me, it's doubtful.
Fair enough.
But it's very possible.
Right.
I don't blame anybody for thinking that there's a logical explanation. But where it was and when I noticed it, I just don't understand how it could be there and not be there. And I know it sounds so crazy
That's tight.
to think that there's like some sort of poltergeist activity in my home. And I'm not somebody who has a lot of those. Like that's the craziest thing.
That would trip me out too. If I were looking for something extensively and then had night terrors and then all of a sudden something I was looking for just appeared.
Yeah. And dude, the sleep paralysis I had was actually so bad, man. That week, it was insane.
Before this?
No, like the week that this happened.
Did you ask to go see a doctor about that? Or
no, I've never seen a doctor about my sleep paralysis. No.
Yeah.
And it's better now.
Okay. Can they help?
I don't know. Actually, I do not know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Have you ever had it?
No, I don't think so. But I've had this weird thing where like, this is scary, where I'm like in a dream and I'm like screaming in the dream to wake up. And then I wake up like going, oh, like,
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I did that once in a hotel room in Vegas with some band members. And I think I tripped them out. Then I was staying at a hostel in Franz Joseph, New Zealand. Mm-hmm. With two like random strangers, and then that must have been scary.
Yeah, like the same thing happened with them.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, I was yelling it, and I probably freaked them out, and I left.
Do you remember like why you were yelling, or?
No, I don't. I remember it's just like a bad. No, I remember. I thought both was like I was dreaming. I was in the hotel room. Something horrible was happening.
Oh, okay.
But that's not related. But that only happened twice, and both times that really tripped me out.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it's gotten better.
It has gotten much better, absolutely. And I will say too, just so people don't think like I'm like a kook who is like super willing to believe in anything like a ghost story or something. Like there are, like they can recreate sleep paralysis. Like they can put a patient, I guess like sleep study people can induce sleep paralysis by creating certain conditions. And that's a lot of people argue that there's nothing supernatural going on there. Like we understand how to make it happen and stuff.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you were having sleep paralysis and I went over and like, yo, Brian, it's time to get up. And I grabbed your arm, would you then be like, oh, cool?
I don't know. I've never had sleep paralysis with somebody in the room.
Were your eyes open?
Yeah, I'm assuming they are. And you can see.
Did you look around the room?
Yes.
But you can't move.
Can't move.
God, it's scary.
Muscle, dude. It's brutal. It's brutal. And like,
and then what gets you out of it?
You just like, you can't do it like by will. It doesn't seem. A lot of people have different techniques, like wiggling their fingers or toes, because sometimes you can move just a little bit, but it like takes so much effort just to move. Like, yeah, it's crazy. But now, like, and it's been a while since I've had it, but the last couple times I've gotten it, you got to remind yourself, okay, it'll pass. And I don't know how long it lasts in real time, but sometimes it feels like it can last like, 4 or 5 minutes. But when like you're kind of asleep, that could be, I don't know if that's like 5 seconds. It's a weird phenomenon. But like that week, and this is a common thing, you look up people having this during sleep paralysis, like they're getting pulled down their bed. And that happened to me that week. Like I was sleep paralysis getting pulled down my bed. And I woke up and I was like, I finally snapped out of it and I was halfway down my bed. And the people.
What, you mean like down the front or the
side?
Yeah,
I was like something was pulling at my feet. So I was like my legs were hanging off more because I was down the bed. And people will say that a lot of people experience that because like in this sleep paralysis state, they're like tensing their muscles in a weird way. So like, let's say your foot is like hooked on the foot of the bed and you're tensing, like that would cause you to slide down. And I don't know, dude. It's hard to say.
That's scary, dude.
It is.
So, okay. So then that led you to believe, that helped your faith?
It was one of, honestly, I will say it was kind of like one of the things that started me thinking like, okay, maybe there's something else going on. And that might sound like a minor thing to trigger such a change in my belief system, but that week was crazy.
That there was some things were unexplainable.
Some things were unexplainable. That's exactly right. And that was it. Like, it wasn't like that week happened and I was like, oh my gosh, ghosts are real, like everything. But it just, in the back of my head, I think it triggered like the possibility of something crazy going on that we can't see. And then I think, a couple of years had passed and I just kind of started feeling like something pulling me, like, I guess, spiritually. And funny enough, Marvelous Missing Link, Lost, came out around this time.
Oh, what a record.
So good. And the intro.
Lost came first,
yep.
I love, and I just want to share like
Absolutely.
The gatefold vinyl has the family, like the dude who, there's like the guy who marries the black woman versus the guy who joins the Ku Klux Klan.
Really?
And it has like, it's interesting, dude. It has a juxtaposition of photos of two directions that these people went. And like one person is like in church and then the same person is doing like taking pills or about to hang himself. The art is nuts on that. If you've ever seen it,
I've never seen the vinyl artwork.
Yeah, the gatefold is crazy. And it's,
I don't know. I'm trying to think if that's in like the book and the CD or not. I can't remember.
They did a special vinyl of Lost and Found Together that has it.
Oh, cool.
That I got on eBay or something. I love that record.
Yeah. Oh man, it is so good.
The intro on that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Like the intro is amazing. And again,
And that's the third card in the second deck.
yes. Yeah, it is.
Those of you who you were like, what the heck are you talking about? The ICP did 6 Joker's cards as the first deck of the Joker's cards, and each that was their bigger records, and each of those was a character that was a allegorical representation of the karmic drive to do good things. And then after the 6th card, they're like, that's the end of time, and they revealed that they were religious. Then the second deck is what they're currently on, which is like more allegories, more characters from the Dark Carnival. That's some background.
Absolutely. Well said. Speaking of the intro, how awesome it is. Like, I remember that was one of those things after like a couple of years of just starting to doubt, like, am I like a straight, like maybe I do believe like there's something, and that was a vague something, but I was like, maybe there is. And then that album came out and it just kind of was right on time because it was talking about placing your faith in something, and it wasn't specific, but just something. And then I didn't like have like a come to Jesus moment or anything, but I was like, I do believe in something. That kind of like nudged me to almost admit to myself that it's okay, to be like, I don't got to be a super skeptic on everything. And then once I started believing in something, I became interested in religion and just reading about like different things like I used to be. Because when I was younger, like really young, like 8, 9, 10, I would get books on ghosts and all that stuff and aliens, and kind of went down that again. And, but then started, if you want to be honest and get right into it, like I started looking up about Jesus specifically, and it kind of, I'm not the only one who's had this experience, but I kind of was just interested in Jesus as a historical figure, and I became obsessed, actually. Like I was obsessively researching him and the early church as well. And it became harder for me to believe that he was just a man. Like I actually started from just researching him from a historical point of view.
Right.
I was like, okay, no, there's something here. And then I started reading scripture, and boom, I was like,
That's
oh no,
up.
Jesus all the way.
That's what's up. And he came back. He was reincarnated. He rose again, you believe?
I do believe. Yeah, I believe in the resurrection. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I do.
I believe in that too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that, and it's people, and there's maybe scientific reasons or whatever. He was passed out or whatever. But the allegory of the empire, the machine, Big Brother, whatever, might kill you, but it won't kill the goodness you left. And it's all this thing about his apostles. He had the ultimate street team, right?
I've never heard of
the ultimate influencers.
That's right. That street team was grinding too.
They were grinding, and it's interesting the synoptic gospels versus like the different ones. Is Luke a synoptic gospel?
Luke is, yeah.
Yeah, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And
and John is one of the. It's not synoptic, but it's like the canonical or whatever. It's one of the.
You know your stuff. Would you ever want to do your master's in theology and become a priest?
I've thought about that a lot. I've done a lot of praying on that. Right now, I don't feel a clear calling to be clergy or anything. I don't even know what denomination. I'm still trying to, and I don't know if people are interested to hear about like where I am with that stuff. Yeah, but I'm still trying to figure out the specifics. Like you asked me about the resurrection. I believe in that. I believe the gospel, like literally, like I believe in like the miracles, like the resurrection of Lazarus and virgin birth even.
Was Lazarus... Jesus did that? When was that in the story? Or that was before?
No, like Jesus, right? I think there's more than one Lazarus. Resurrection. I can't say for sure. I don't know because he brought back more than one person from the dead, and I don't know if Lazarus is the first one.
And I referenced that in the Hans Moleman song.
Right.
The Lazarus in Springfield always coming back to life. His name is Moleman because he always dies. I have a story to tell you that's similar to that.
Sure.
2008. I was making Robot Kills.
Cool.
I've talked about this on the podcast. I had a bomb management company that, with the recession and everything, they dropped me. And so all this energy that was like helping me grow MC Lars suddenly disappeared and like this black hole opened under me. And I was like, there's something to this. I have more songs to write. I'm not ready to just go to grad school. And that's fine. Like, that's cool. People who like stop touring and stop doing music. Sometimes it's practical. But I was like, I don't really want to quit yet. And I remember I was living in LA. I was driving back up to Northern California to see my family, and coming over the grapevine, and it kind of opens up. And I swear, this is the closest I've had to a divine experience. I heard a voice, not a literal voice, but in my head saying something like, "You have many more people to inspire. It's not time to stop, and it's going to be okay."
Wow.
And it's emotional to tell you this, and I remember listening. I was like, that's weird. That's bigger than me. It's one of the closest divine things I've had. And I was like, oh, well, okay. Maybe that's just a hunch. But that moment, I was like, okay, I'm not going to quit. What does Violent J call it? Leyenda?
Yeah.
At any cost.
Right. All or nothing kind of thing.
All or nothing. I was like, I'm going to make Robot Kills because I was really struggling to make that record in terms of budget and just didn't have a label. But I knew it was a great record. And I knew that record was going to like launch phase 2. And then I connected with the nerdcore guys, and it became this thing where like I could work with them without the big music industry helping.
Right.
And it was just this breakthrough that was like, keep going because there's a reason for it. And music brought me my wife. It brought me friendships, like our friendship. It brought me the ability to feel like I can preach to people and connect with them in a way that like I couldn't in any other way.
Right.
Living in this tradition that's bigger than all of us. And I think what I do really with MC Lars is I'm preaching this gospel of my version of what's good, what's bad, how to treat people that we're human. It's okay to be weird and have faith. And I'd never do an album. And the closest thing, I guess, is the gospel hip hop and the song we talked about, Judas Priest, that like, I'd never do a straight up album saying how I'm a Christian, but I put it in there.
Oh yeah.
Sprinkle it.
Yeah. And I mean, even like your Twitter bio, you had like a Roman something.
10:15, I think.
Yeah. I don't think it's a secret, that you believe in God to people.
It's tight.
Yeah.
And it's something like people will disagree, and that's fine. I've learned to be at peace. If someone doesn't have faith, doesn't mean I'm wrong. Just means that we see the world different, and that God isn't. I don't think God is going to send these people to hell, and I don't think if you're gay, you're going to hell, and I don't think if you're a different religion,
right?
Jesus is too loving. That's kind of the Rob Bell reinterpretation faith.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's where like the stuff that I struggle with, and still I'm kind of on that like path to finding the answers to like the big things like salvation, and because Jesus is pretty explicit, like when he says like I am the way, the truth, the life. No one gets to the Father except through me. But and we're getting pretty intense on the MC Lars podcast.
Bars.
Here. Yeah. But let's say, you know, if you believe like I believe, and I think you believe, like Jesus existed before his earthly incarnation, right?
Right.
He was pre-eternal with God the Father. So, like, does that mean that you could still get to God the Father through God the Son, even if you haven't heard of Jesus's earthly ministry? Because it's too hard of a pill, like the super strict, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I don't believe in my heart either that, like, you know, someone who's just because they're
born in BC 40.
That's right, yeah.
BC 400.
And that, like, that super literal, like, you had to place your faith in the earthly, you know, ministry of Jesus to get into heaven. Like, I don't know if we're missing the mark there or not, but that's like why there's like Roman Catholics and everything else is the whole like faith versus works thing. And it's such an incredibly nuanced theological concept that I've been trying to find the answer for years, and I'm nowhere close. So,
well, it's something will be, I think, asking questions and not knowing is a real definition of faith, right?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
So the Catholic thing is what? You can have faith without works and it's all good?
No, I don't. So again, it's going to be hard to navigate this because like it's such a complicated issue.
Yeah.
And it's not black and white. I think
Right.
it's just different denominations emphasizing different parts of faith and its relation to works. But like I think, and it also has to do with certain specific things that the Catholic Church were doing in the 1500s. But yeah, a big difference is like faith in a lot of Protestant denominations, like faith is the only thing that can justify you, right? And it actually, in the Bible, compares our good deeds to filthy rags, like saying that because we are so broken, right? Like if you're like asking like a super Protestant biblical Christian, they'll tell you, from what I understand, that like they'll say that we're so broken, right, because of the fall and our sin nature, that we are incapable of being good enough to deserve heaven, right? So that's why Jesus had to do what he did, so we can get what's called imputed grace, or I believe it's imputed grace, by believing in him. It's like a free gift, but you have to put your faith in him. And if you don't do that, then you're not making it into heaven. And the God that I feel like and pray to, I can't imagine it being that cut and dry. You know what I mean?
Sure, right. That nothing else matters, and that even if you are save tons of people and help out, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Which just seems that seems like very, to me, like a corporation making a user agreement that only benefits them.
Right.
You have to be in this club, and it doesn't matter if you're a good-hearted person.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is like, so either side of it is harsh in more ways and then like more lenient in other ways. So like, for example, if you're like let's say you're a Baptist, hardcore, just biblical Christian, a lot of them won't believe that you can lose salvation once you have it. So you place your faith in Jesus, and if it's true saving faith, it's yours forever. So like, let's say like you will never lose it. Even though you can backslide a lot, you're going to heaven. But in like the Catholic tradition, you can go in and out of salvation, right?
That's why you have confession.
That's right. But at the same time, I think, from what I understand, and I'm not a Catholic, and I apologize if there's any Catholics here and I'm getting this wrong, Catholics listening, I mean, from what I understand is that it's like a sin to presume someone's going to hell, because we can't claim to understand God's mercy and the extent of his mercy. So it's such a complicated issue. I apologize if you didn't want to get into it this much, because it's just, but it is what I spend a lot of time reading, because it's so fascinating.
So judge not, lest ye be judged.
That's right. Judge not, lest you be judged. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of freaking wisdom in the Bible.
Yeah, there is. Man.
You read the whole thing?
Not yet. No.
What books you read?
Yes, sir. So I've read pretty much all the New Testament, save for a few letters. But the Old Testament, I've only read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Jonah. And Jonah's like a really short book. How about you?
No, I haven't. I've only read verses and familiar with stories. I never sat down and read it, but I want to.
English Standard Version, brother. That's what I'd recommend. If you want to read it, read it. Just
English, that's chunks. Right, newer than the King James.
Yeah, and it's a respected translation, and it's easy to read.
And that's what's interesting about the Bible, because people say it's a game of telephone, which it is. Aramaic to whatever, and then different translations from English. And that's kind of cool. What's your favorite book from the Bible that you've read? Ooh,
so far, I think Gospel of Luke. Like if I'm trying to tell someone like where I would recommend them starting to get like a idea of like what the Christian faith is when it comes to actual scripture, I usually go Gospel of Luke.
Yeah. Luke is mystical. Luke, that one was written later, and it has more of the miracles, doesn't it?
It might. I didn't know if it was earlier or later.
I took a class on it in high school, and that was something that was one of the themes.
Yeah, and I think a lot of like the more compassionate side of Jesus is in there too. Like I think I could be wrong, but I think it's like the gospel where he's on the cross and he says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do."
I think you're right.
And it's where he like during his arrest, he heals the Roman soldier's ear after one of the apostles cuts it off, and it's just a very good, way to connect to his infinite, love towards us.
It is. And it's also the one that really like shows the resurrection more dramatically. I remember more like he's floating up and stuff versus him coming down the mountain. I did a class. Yeah, this class in high school, Dr. Paul Woutenberg taught it. And it was cool because it looked at synoptic gospels and showed how they were different and how they were similar. And he said something like the Gospel of Luke was told, but wasn't written down till like 100 years after.
Okay. That's possible. I know like I think all of them were written down like, tens of years after. And you might know more about this, but from like what I understand, they were like it was like an oral tradition.
Right.
It wasn't, so it to me, it's like harder to have faith in the Bible being like totally incorrupt by, like you said, different translations and time between the events happening to actually being wrote down. Like I struggle with that. Like I can't look you in the face and say I believe the Bible is 100% without error front to back. Like I can't. If I should believe that and I don't, I'm sorry. I ask God for clarity all the time.
Right.
But in my heart, I don't think I believe that.
Yeah, I don't either. And there are Christians who do.
Yeah.
It's quite literal. And there's stuff about, I mean, to be real, like the homophobic stuff and that stuff is just, some stuff is just doesn't age.
No.
It's like being like a book about, I don't know, not to trivialize it, but like a book talking about how the only way to listen to music is on cassette that was written in the 80s. That might be a weird example, but like something that doesn't take account for how cultures change, or like stuff like that becomes cultural, like in Judaism being kosher because meat and milk wouldn't keep in the desert. Stuff just changes, and it's but it's interesting, and I respect people's faith. And I've been going to different churches to find out what church I am. Like I'm want to go to Baptist church, going to different versions of Christianity. Went to a Methodist service, which was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, what was that like?
Well, it's less floral than the Episcopalian. The Methodist church is just split though, in that there are people who believe that being gay is a sin and people who don't. So I'm like, I don't know if I can mess with this. Like, I think the church I went to was one of the more progressive ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't. Jesus wouldn't care who you love. I don't think. And Jesus wouldn't. It's hard to impute what he would say, but he would. I don't know. He'd love you. If you had a husband, like my cousin's gay and he's married and they have an adopted son and they're both Christian. And I was talking to his husband about this and about they're going to heaven. I feel like, when my mom's mom died, she was in the hospital and I was about to go on tour and I kind of knew I wouldn't see her again. My nan, like you said. Yeah. And she, my grandma, and I said, I was crying because I knew I wasn't going to see her again. And she said, don't cry because I know that I'm going to be in heaven and I'm saving a spot for you there. So I'm not scared. And I'd never seen anyone so brave and so like, it's going to be fine. I'm not worried. And her strength of conviction, that was around the time this happened. Wow. Like a similar period. And that really stuck with me. And I really believe that all the people that I've lost are up there.
Absolutely, brother. Me too.
Yeah. And that's one of the fun things I like about ICP's like last songs on a lot of their records. They talk about heaven and especially Pass Me By on Malenko. Yeah. Right. That people in heaven are like, I think they think, why are you crying? Because you should be sad that you're not here in this beautiful place.
Absolutely,
right?
Dude. Absolutely, and I believe that 100%.
Yeah. You believe you'll see those people in heaven again?
100%.
Me too.
I do, brother. Absolutely.
That's tight. That's what's up. That's the joy, right? That's like this is a very religious podcast, and I guess we didn't expect it to be, but like,
no, it goes where it goes, I guess.
Yeah, like that's the thing about the good news.
That's right. It's hope.
It's hope. You believe in the resurrection. And even if it's not true, there's a Pascal's wager. Have you heard of this thing?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
That if you believe and you're wrong, well, what do you lose? You're still, but if it is true, you get in. But I don't think it'll be so Procrustean and like that.
That's right. And like it comes to the point where like you start trying to decipher the Bible like a legal document, and it's just so hard. And like, I think we're on the same page, and thank you so much for sharing these. We've talked, for so many times. Like,
I told you a story about my grandma.
No, dude, no. Yeah. So I learned something new from this podcast about you, and thank you for sharing it. But I believe that, God's love we can't comprehend it for us, but I do believe that He does want a personal relationship with us badly, and I think He's trying to get it from each one of us.
Martin Luther, right? That idea that you don't have to. The institution's great, but it's really between us. They're not the gatekeepers to the heaven,
right? That
can go away, and that's tight.
That's right, and that's the whole because you don't want to go down like that super hardcore clericalism, because some Christians would argue when Jesus was crucified, that curtain got torn, right?
Right, in the church, that from the top.
That's right.
And that couldn't have happened. That was, and so many people documented that actually happened. That was not just a story.
Absolutely. And that's the whole, one of the big parts of the whole Protestant Reformation, Christ alone. Christ, Jesus is the only mediator. There's no men that are a mediator. So a lot of Protestants believe that Jesus his work on the cross did away with the priestly class, right? And
right.
I think my problem is I spent too much reading about both sides of it, that I'm kind of a fence sitter with between the super Protestant worldview and then the more so I'm
well, and this is the crazy thing about Episcopalian and Anglican. It's not Protestant and it's not Catholic.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's people I always thought it was Protestant, but Ash and I, when we got married, it was an Episcopal church. It was so dope of her to go along with that, because she was raised Catholic, but she's kind of maybe more agnostic. She I mean, not to get into her faith, she believes in God and all that, but Neil from Cuckoo Kangaroo, his wife Becky, was that a Catholic service? Because that felt very Catholic. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that's right. The communion, all that flavor.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then it's the thing, transubstantiation versus consubstantiation.
Right, exactly.
So it's you actually literally eat Jesus versus it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
And that's I went to Catholic school one year, and I remember I'd ask a lot of questions, man. And I'd ask we did we had religious class, and then we'd have science class. And then I remember we'd learn about hell in religion class. And then the teacher was drawing the earth and the crust and the mantle. And I raised my hand. I was like, so where exactly is hell? If that's like, and they were not having that question. I'm like,
really?
You're telling us conflicting things. We're going to ask questions, you know?
Yeah.
I just intellectually, like, it's great to have faith.
Absolutely.
But it's great to be able to ask questions about it.
100%.
Otherwise,
And I feel like God would encourage it. Like, if I'm being honest with you and whoever's listening to this, like, I go right now to a Baptist church.
Okay.
And like a pretty like hardline biblical Baptist church. And they know the things that I'm struggling with, right? And they're trying, they are super open to the questions that I have.
Why Baptist, Brian?
So it was just close to my house.
Okay.
And I wanted to look for a new church. I knew that I wanted to worship in group worship.
And they had better music, right?
Well, you know something? And
Episcopal
here's a whole
music,
other deep conversation.
Right.
I don't know how much of our religious experience is aesthetics. You know what I mean? And so many denominations have different aesthetics. I feel, because I grew up in an Anglican church. I shouldn't say grew up. I went like on occasion to an Anglican church growing up. That kind of like midway, like where it's not super Catholic, but it has liturgy and like saints on the stained glass windows, like that resonates with me. Right. And honestly, I kind of miss that going to just a straight up Baptist church where there's like just, the wooden walls and hymns and a sermon. I love the hymns.
More energetic?
They're like more kind of upbeat.
More modern?
Sometimes I love, but sometimes I kind of miss the, all like high church, I guess you could say, hymns. But I don't, like, if God is immutable and ever changing, like, are these certain aesthetics and denominations, like, are they just time and place ways for certain people to feel close to them? Like, I wonder how much someone is drawn to a certain denomination is because of the aesthetic value of that denomination. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like culture and taste, and it's like food. And if you smell something, it tastes a certain way. You have to smell food to taste it. It's Pavlovian, right?
Right.
It resonates with that certain things you remember, and it's a whole bunch of things. There's not just one. It's like there's a million songs.
Yeah, exactly. A million flavors.
Now scrub is a term misunderstood. I even hear people use it like it isn't good. So what's it all about? You might ask. Well, take in the facts from your homie Snax. Every class had a kid who you knew that wore the same shoes and clothes as the year before. And it's not because every scrub is poor. We just don't always look like the norm. A scrub makes better use of the time. They don't rely on looks or their money for the shine. A scrub will grab the date in the 88 rusted tempo, but she'll faint from swooning like it's Johnny Depp though. You might think we're lazy, but a true scrub knows a scrub ain't a scrub unless they got goals, while others worry about all the things they want. A scrub appreciates all the things they got. It isn't anything you can buy. You don't need to save every nickel and dime, cause if they hated every style that you tried, you just gotta learn how to scrub till you shine. It isn't anything you can buy. You don't need to save every nickel and dime, cause if they hated every style that you tried, you just gotta learn how to scrub till you shine.
I ain't got $1 in my pocket, but I still rock it. Warrior scrub, everybody jocking, flocking, dirty killer, keep it popping. Dead batteries in my mic, but I ain't stopping. Keep it clean with a grimy attitude. Get filthy if you really have to. I may be K, man, I do what I do. If you don't like how I look, bitch, fuck you. I'ma keep it scrubbing, homie, always scrubbing, keep it scrubbing. Go ahead and hate me now, but in the end, you'll be the one left with nothing. I don't need fresh J's to float or Kanye telling me what's dope, cause I'm a scrub for life. And I don't need to hear what you think, sweet, because my own opinion's complete. Keep it scrubbing for life.
It isn't anything you can buy. You don't need to save every nickel and dime, cause if they hated every style that you tried, you just gotta learn how to scrub till you shine.
It isn't anything you could buy. You don't need to save every nickel and dime. Cause if they hated every style that you tried, you just gotta learn how to scrub till you shine.
So if you got scrub love, don't try and hide. Just bump this song to show scrub pride. This is for the broke kids who brag about it. For the kids other kids didn't hang around with. I was that kid, been a scrub since birth. But now it's time for scrubs to inherit the earth. It's not often that fashioned on the mind of a scrub, but you'll need sunglasses for the shine of these scrubs.
It isn't anything you could buy. You don't need to save every nickel and dime. Cause if they hated every style that you tried, you just gotta learn how to scrub till you shine. It isn't anything you could buy. You don't need to save every nickel and dime. Cause if they hated every style that you tried, you just gotta learn how to scrub till you shine.
That was Scrub Till You Shine, featuring Anybody Killa from MC Snax's EP, Healing Sounds of the Benevolent Realm, Volume 2. You can get that at mcsnax.bandcamp.com. Next week, we're going to talk more about some of the stuff we were talking about. Basically, what it's like living in Newfoundland and Labrador. Holler. The only guest I've ever interviewed from there. I hope you're all staying safe. I'm going to be back with the Freestyle Fridays, all that stuff. Thank you for listening, and thanks to Snax for opening for us and for doing the interview. Sending much love to all of you. Talk to you soon. Peace. Oh, by the way, this was the MC Lars podcast, and I'm MC Lars. Okay, that's it. Bye.